You are now listening to The Sports Report with your host, Josh Dow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Report. I am your host, Josh Dow. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week. As always, we're going to kick this thing off with the headline section, and it doesn't get any bigger than the headlines we had this past week. I'm sure you've heard a ton about it. I'm sure some of you have read a ton about it. We're going to talk about that college basketball, I guess, scandal. Paying players and everything like that. So let's get right into that part of headlines right now.
This is the Sports Report News and Headlines.
Documents, bank statements, bank records, wiretaps, all obtained by the FBI in this huge paying college basketball players saga, scandal, whatever you want to call it. Over 4,000 calls were tapped from, I think, it's almost a full year. I think the exact amount of days is like 330. A significant number of NBA players, current college players, have been accused, have been charged with receiving some form of payment. These payments range from $40 to get a meal paid for, not even their meal, like a parent's meal, to loans of $100,000. Like, that's big time money. Some of the programs, Duke, Kentucky, UNC, Michigan State, Arizona, NC State. I mean, big programs were involved. This isn't your little programs that we're talking about here. And I don't agree with LeBron a lot, but he said it best. Like, this isn't new. If you think paying players, elite players, money as an incentive to come play for your school or to sign with a specific agent or financial advisor, whatever the case is, once they get into the draft, none of that's new. That's been around for a long time. Some of the names that were dropped: Dennis Smith Jr. Went to NC State. They said he received around $73,000. $73,500, I think, is the exact figure they brought up. Significant. Markelle Fultz, the number one pick last year, around $10,000 that they know of. There could be more, but at least $10,000 is the report right now. Then on the smaller side, Miles Bridges, Wendell Carter. Miles Bridges from Michigan State, Wendell Carter, current player for Duke. Apparently, family members received their meals paid for. This is a big deal. Like, I understand $40 for a dinner doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's still a violation. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's a violation. Miles Bridges donated his $40 to charity, kind of wiped those hands clean. He's still eligible. Duke is cooperating. Their compliance departments contacted the FBI and the NCAA, or maybe just the NCAA, one or the other. They're at least cooperating, saying that his mom received a dinner. Also, new reports are saying that his parents met with agents, didn't receive any money, and didn't even eat. So the agent was just paying for himself. So obviously that's all has to be worked out, but that's not a meal here or there. As long as it's under a certain amount, they're allowed to pay back, which I would assume is the case. Bridges did it. I'm assuming Carter will be a similar type deal if the FBI, NCAA says, hey, you did in fact receive your meals paid for. But then you have like A.T.S from Arizona received $100,000. 6 figures this kid received from A.S.M. Coach Sean Miller, who, not looking good for him, is caught on a wiretap telling A.S.M., I believe to actually pay him the $100,000, but also says, hey, don't go to the assistant. We want to get stuff done. You come through me for payments. One, we're saying that, if they find out that A.T.S was paid, that's on the tab. But also, it's probably happened in the past, and you're setting yourself up with the way that conversation was going, that it's going to continue to happen in the future. So, it's not looking good for him. I mean, he was caught red-handed. The reports are saying if a player, team, whatever, in the incident, eligibility could be lost, banned from the tournament this year. Who knows what future bans will hold. But, I mean, coaches. Sean Miller was on his way to being a very prestigious, well-respected head coach. Successful. Now his job, career, all that's on the line. So, and it's not just basketball. Without dropping specific examples, no one I know personally, but I've heard stories. Athletes, it's not very strange for an athlete, football player, Division I school, $10,000, $20,000, new car. I mean, we've seen it. It's not changing. So, other athletes have been caught. Heisman trophies have been taken. Wins have been revoked. Championships have been revoked. Jobs lost. All that stuff. Nothing changed. They just tried to keep it a little more hush-hush. I don't understand why people think that this, unless they just make things a little bit more strict, I don't think it's truly ever going to stop. I mean, the NCAA is corrupt, man. It is corrupt. There's no way you can tell me that the coaches paying players, the way that the NCAA handled the whole spectrum is, I would say, just not the most well dealt with. And that leads us to a question that's been asked for years. I mean, it was asked when I was in high school. It was probably asked before that. But I know when I was in high school looking to go to college to play sports, this was a topic that was brought up quite a bit. I'm sure it's been for a long time. Is it time to pay student athletes? So listen, I ran a Twitter poll to see what people thought. I have a lot of athletes, a lot of high school, college, coaches, everything follow me on Twitter. Obviously, fans of the show. I have kids that have committed to D1 programs, kids going to lower level programs. So I have a wide spectrum, a wide and diverse group of athletes following me. I got 28 votes. 75% said yes, it's time to pay student athletes, which is an overwhelming amount. Now, obviously, it's a little bit biased because a lot of them are athletes or a lot of them are sports fans, but that's still a lot. And I understand the number one, I've been a huge, big fan of paying student athletes. Not because personally I wanted to get paid, but I know what student athletes go through. Even having a work-study job can be difficult in season. So there's no money coming in. A lot of people I know, because I guarantee you someone will listen to this and they'll hit me up and say, but they're on scholarship, they get a free education, that should be enough. Well, yeah, that's great. But think about all the money that they bring in. They're not getting any of it. They're not seeing any of it. I mean, I'll use my favorite team as an example. Think about Alabama football. They are bringing in millions for that school, which pays for facilities, school buildings, educational programs, other sports. I mean, they're contributing a lot of money to that school, but they're not allowed to see any of it. None of it. So I understand if I'm a baseball player, this is very rare, but say I get a full scholarship. If I'm on a team, Vanderbilt baseball, say they bring in a ton of money to the school, not likely, baseball doesn't make a lot of money for the school, but say I was bringing in a significant amount of money, I was the ace pitcher, blah, blah, blah. Someone that gets a full scholarship for another reason, maybe not even sports related, isn't bringing in that revenue for the school. Not saying one's better than the other, but one's helping the school a lot more than the other. And there's nothing wrong with that. There just needs to be compensation in place. And it doesn't even have to be from the school. I think that's a lot of the misconception is these colleges aren't going to pay. What if, Duke is going to be able to pay more than, I don't know, Wyoming or, Valdosta State. They're going to be able to pay more, so they're going to get, they're not on the same level. You know what I mean? And it's not even going to be that way anyway. I was watching Chris Broussard this morning. He was filling in for CC on First Things First. And I really liked his idea of, he said, quote unquote, having a free market where, like I said, the schools aren't paying. And I think that's where everyone's having that, because that'll never happen. The schools, it's never going to happen. I think that's where the biggest misconception is people think, well, if student athletes are going to get paid, Kansas is going to have to pay guys, Duke's going to have to pay guys, Yale's going to have a great team, and Harvard's going to have a great team because their endowment, they're going to be able to pay a ton. It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. I like it as where the schools are not paying, but they're related to the situation. So I'll give you an example, and I'll give you the example he used. This is far-fetched, but this is the example he used, and I understand where he was going with this. Duke says, I want this Zion Williamson. We'll use him. I mean, everyone's watching Zion Williamson. Going to be a Duke basketball player next year. Coach K goes to the boosters and says, hey, Kentucky, UNC, they're all going after this kid hard. We want him. Let's offer him I think he used the example of $2 million. I think that's obviously a stretch, but we'll give this guy, $100,000. Pay for not only his expenses, but help. And Nick Wright even agreed, that's not a significant amount of money where the dude's balling out the gym, but maybe if he comes from a less fortunate family, he gets to send some money home, help his family out. Because some of these kids, that's what they're trying to do, is this is their gateway to get to the league, to help their family, but they got to spend that year grinding, having no money, while they're making this school all this money. And it doesn't have to be from boosters either, because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Duke has a lot more of a range of boosters than Wake Forest. I don't know if that's true. I made that up. But as an example, so there's got to be a way where, I don't want to say like a salary cap for recruits or whatever, but the way I looked at it was, if you're going to have this free market idea, what if boosters weren't included, schools weren't included, but say a local radio station wanted to, have Zion on a commercial, or put him on a billboard, or Nike knows he's going to go into the NBA but wants to give him a shoe while he's in college. They should be able to get endorsements for their if you talk about a time where being a brand yourself is crucial. Look at these athletes making big time money because of endorsements. If a company wants to pay a college athlete an endorsement deal, I don't see why that's an issue. They should rechange the amateurism and rechange the NCAA rules where that's allowed. Because maybe a car dealership has a deal with, Duke I keep using Duke just because I love their basketball team. Maybe they have a deal with Duke. Hey, all freshmen, we're going to get you on a deal. Have a huge sale, have you come down, meet and greet, sign autographs, stuff like that. We'll pay you $500, or we'll get you on a billboard or in a commercial and give you $1,000. Little things like that where the schools and the companies are signing the deals maybe, but the players are still benefiting from it. I think that would be something that it's going to be down the road. It's not going to be something that, next season's going to happen, and there's going to be a lot of pushback, guaranteed. The only other way that that's going to happen, or the only other way that we're going to stop seeing schools illegally paying for players, other than the free market thing that Chris Broussard brought up, is the NCAA and the NBA have to team up. And it's going to go one of two ways. You're going to get rid of the one and done, and you're going to allow them to forego college and go into the league. Maybe not the NBA, maybe they get into the developmental league, the G League, stuff like that, where they don't have to go overseas. That way they get right into the league. Now they need to make, I guess, a little bit more money than they're making in the G League right now to make it worth it. But that's something that would have to work out. And LeBron brought that up. Going into the developmental league. And I thought you either got to get rid of the one and done and let them forego college, or make it like similar to baseball. So here's how baseball works. You have the opportunity to go right out of high school. If you want, you can go to college. If you go to a junior college, you can enter after both years. If you go, how does it work? If you go to college, if you go to a junior college, it's after the first or second year. You can go into the draft both years. The only difference is there's so many rounds in baseball. And if you don't like where you spot, you go back to college. That's going to be a lot to work out as well. It's a lot different. You're not going to be going right to the NBA. You'd have to go to the developmental league where it doesn't hurt the roster. So there's a lot to work out. But I could definitely see how that would work if they got rid of the one and done. The other thing that is going to stop it, if the NCAA will not get rid of this one and done, which I think they should, this is never going to happen. Never in a million years. So when I say this, don't think it's like a rumor or anything like that. But if there's allegations or you're caught, i.e. the Arizona situation, players, they could make it so players are ineligible for the draft for 1 full year after any case, allegations, charges, anything like that. Like I said, that's never going to happen. But you better believe these kids are going to be like, dude, I'm not taking your $40 meal because next year I'm going to sign $6 million first round. They're not going to risk that. So that's one way. I mean, I don't want to say never because you never know, but I would be shocked if that happened. So I spent a lot of time because that's a very serious case, but it also is something that I've been very passionate about for a long time, and I'm not one that's going to go to law school. I'm not one that's going to, be the one suing the NCAA or part of the case. That's for sure. But it's something I'm very passionate about, and I think this situation is proof that things need to change, or it's just going to continue to get worse. Athletes are going to continue to get better. More money is going to continue to flow in. It's only going to get worse. So kind of got to nip that in the butt right away, honestly. On to some NFL stuff. Kirk Cousins. There's reports of a few teams saying he's going to get, anywhere from $25 million a year, $80 million total. And there's 3 teams that keep coming up, I guess is the best way to put it. The Jets are first, and the reason the Jets are coming up is because they, quote unquote, are willing to do whatever it takes. I'm not sure what that, are you going to pay a salary? Good, because you don't have a choice. Are you going to cut player? What does that mean? The Jets aren't they were better than expected, but they're not a great team. So it's not like they have a lot of assets to throw around to Kirk Cousins and say, yeah, here's what we have. What is it going to take? They're kind of tied in that sense. So if they mean they're willing to overpay and whoever the highest bidder is one-up them, good for them. I wouldn't do it, but good for them. The Broncos also said, hey, $80 million or $25 a year, we'll do it, we'll pay it. That, to me, is a little bit of a better scenario for Kirk. just because I think the Broncos are a little bit better than the Jets are. I mean, Cousins said the most important thing for him is to win and to be happy. So, I mean, that could mean in New York. That could mean in Denver. He has a better chance of winning in Denver than he does New York, I think. The team that I think is going to be the most likely is the Vikings. Cousins and the Vikings showing mutual interest. I believe all 3 quarterbacks for the Vikings are free agents. But is it worth the Vikings paying $25 million a year for Cousins instead of getting one of the 3 quarterbacks back that they were pretty successful with? I mean, are the results going to be that much better that you're going to overpay the quarterback that much? I mean, it could be. Kirk Cousins is a pretty good quarterback. But for $25 million a year, you better be certain that your results from the previous year compared to the year that you have him are not similar. Like, when you have Cousins for $25 million a year, you better make sure that your results are far better. Just pure economically, you want to make sure what you're paying for, you get much better results, seeing you're paying a higher amount. I don't think that's going to happen. But that's not saying they don't think Bridgewater or Bradford or those guys are going to... They could certainly regress. So either one, they think Kirk Cousins is about to win them a Super Bowl. Possible. Or they think the 3 quarterbacks they had are going to regress, where Kirk Cousins is worth keeping them in that same 11-12 win range. I don't remember the record, but range. I mean, at this point, you have the weapons. You need the consistent quarterback. If you think your guys are going to regress, go ahead and get Cousins, because he's consistency. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards. He's going to be he's going to protect the ball. He's going to be a good quarterback. For Cousins' sake, I think the Vikings are the best fit. He wants to be happy and he wants to win. He's going to be happy because he wins. Whatever he means by that, that's what I'm taking, is when you win, you're happy. So, the Vikings have the best roster for him. I guess only time will tell, but because of the need for quarterback, because of especially what like Jimmy G just signed for, I think someone will pay him the $25 million a year. I just don't think there's a question about that. Spring training is underway. I mean, the Red Sox pretty much played every day, I think. So, JD Martinez finally introduced as a Red Sox. Scared me for a little bit. There were some complications with the physical, his arrival delayed the announcement, or the introduction, I should say. Some of the terms of the contract changed. I don't know exactly what changed, but the skeleton's still there. Same number of years, same $110 million. I'm sure it just has something to do with, obviously, the physical, because there were some complications. But any team, if there's any hint of issues with a physical, with health, with injuries, anything like that, there's going to be some sort of clause in there, just because you're going to be cautious. You just inked a 9-figure contract with a guy. And that's the Sox. They just want to be cautious about it. And I don't blame Dombrowski in the front office for wanting to make sure that everything is set in place. I'm hoping that it was just little things like, and I mean in the physical, that they're just little things that aren't going to hinder him and he's only going to play 60 games, because I can't handle that. Excuse me. I can't handle paying $110 million for a guy and being out on injury. Because once it happens once, I mean, plagued with injuries could happen. So, because in lieu of his introduction, I'm a big sabermetrics guy. I'm a big stats guy. I do my own projections for players. So in the other episodes, if you've listened to the first base catcher side, I gave some stats out there that I projected. These are my own projections that I run for sabermetrics, and it has sabermetrics elements in it based with historical data as well. So when I do these, I have my own Excel spreadsheet that I run. I'm just a sabermetrics nerd, basically. So here's what I figured out with JD, my numbers. And if I'm right, or not right, but close, maybe one day I'll have a job. So based on his fly ball rate, his quality of contact, meaning how hard he hits the balls, velo, everything like that, and his spray charts, so where he hits the ball, I had him around a 35 to 38 home run guy. I think I projected 36.11. Obviously, you can't hit 0.11 of a home run. So I always put a range. So I think 35 to 38 is a good number. My exact number was 38 or 36.11. Average-wise, I don't think he's going to hit 300. I really want to see a guy go 35, 40 home runs, bat 300, 100 plus RBIs. That's a guy that I want. I want that guy. I don't think we're going to see that. I think he's going to be around 290, 291. I could see him go up to that 295, 296 range, just because the green monster is going to help him a lot, I think. So, some of the balls that he doesn't hit out, or that might be regular fly balls, I think that's going to help him win the monsters out there. Also, his spray chart, like I mentioned, he hits a lot of his home runs. So when he lifts the ball, it's to left and right. He doesn't hit a lot of fly balls to center, which we know the Bermuda Triangle out in Fenway is not the easiest to hit him out. So you got the short porch and right by pesky pole, then you got the green monster. I think that's going to add a lot of hits, doubles, definitely some home runs for the guy, and I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I have him probably close to 100 RBIs. Depends on exactly where he hits in the lineup as well. Obviously, if they're saying Betts is probably going to be leadoff, so that takes somebody out of. It's going to probably be Betts, Benintendi, maybe JD. I don't know who's going to go 3 through 6 really. So he could be. It could range 88 to honestly 104, just because of it depends on how many at bats he gets, runners on, everything like that. Runs scored. This one's always tough again because it really depends on at bats as well. I'm gonna peg him in the low 80s for runs scored. Like I said, I looked at historical data, and that seems to be consistent with the numbers that I got. But if he's a 292 hitter, 35, 36 home runs, 100 RBIs, that's probably going to lead the team in at least home runs and RBIs, unless Betts, Benintendi, those guys go bananas. So, those numbers don't seem super impressive, especially when you're talking about guys hitting 310, 315, 40 bombs like Stan and Judge, 50 bombs. But for the Red Sox, who were last, that's significant. That's a significant piece of that lineup that you just added. And hitting's contagious. So you get Betts hitting, Benintendi clicking, this dude hitting bombs. Hitting is contagious. It's not just a baseball term, it's real. Like, watch. Rallies will start, first man on, second guy gets a hit, moves him over, third guy drives him in. It's contagious. Big innings can come if everyone, if you have, especially your top three guys clicking. So I hope to see those numbers. Obviously, that's barring any injury. I'm hoping he plays 145, 150 games for us. But we'll see what happens, especially with that physical scares me a little bit. We're going to move on to the against the spread section, which is now kind of shifted to more of a fantasy baseball section, where what we're doing is talking about your fantasy lineups, not only for daily fantasy, but for your season-long fantasy. So I'm giving you the top 5 at each position. We already did catchers. We did first base. We had a week where there were some issues with uploading the podcast, so we had a week off, and then we did first base. So today I'm going to do 2 positions. I'm going to do both middle infield spots, second base and shortstop. So I'm going to give you the top 5 second base first. We're going to go through their stats, any pieces of information I have about either them last year or what they need to do to hit these numbers. But again, these are some of my projections that I did using some of the metrics and some historical data. So second base, number 5, I'm going to go 5-1. I don't know if I was doing that in the beginning. I think I was just running through them, but I'm going to go 5-1 this time. And this guy's, I don't know if he's on a lot of people's radar. He should be. He had a breakout year last year. I don't know if he's going to have as good of a year. I expect him to have a good year, but I think there's going to be some regression from what he did. And that's Jonathan Scope from Baltimore. He plays second. I don't know what's going to happen with the possible move of Manny to shortstop. I don't know if he would move to third, or I don't know that deal. But as of right now, he's a second baseman. You can pick him up as a second baseman, so I'm going to list him as the number 5 second baseman. Average-wise, 280 to 284, 28 to 32 in the home run category, which is pretty solid for second base. I would be surprised if he touched 100 RBIs, but I think mid to upper 90s wouldn't shock me. I have him pegged 95 to 98. Runs 80 to 86, again dependent on where he bats in that lineup. Not an overly fast guy. So, I mean, I have some steal numbers in here based on, this is more historical data. Pegged, maybe he might take 2 bags, might swipe 2 bags for you, nothing crazy. Number 4 is Daniel Murphy from the Nationals. This guy can straight up hit. He might be, average-wise, second best hitter. I think he's going to be 305 to 311. He's going to be over that 300 mark. I'm pretty confident in that. 22 to 28 home runs. I have a little bit more of a range there just because of his health. I don't know if he's going to stay healthy. The thing is, I want to see him play 150 games. I don't want to see him with, little injuries here, minor injury there. I want to see him play and play healthy, because when he does, he's that lineup with him, Harper, Trey Turner. Those guys are nuts. So 22 to 28 home runs. RBIs, I have 85 to 90. Again, this depends on where he's hitting. He definitely doesn't want to hit behind Bryce. I think Bryce Harper's going to have a good year. I probably would peg him 2-hole-ish. Not a fast guy, so maybe 5-hole, something like that. RBIs, like I said, 85 to 90. Runs 78 to 82. And he's also probably only going to swipe you one bag. If he swipes two, he's having a pretty good year. Man. So, number 3, and this guy is a guy that's been a good second baseman for a good number of years. That's Brian Dozier from the Twins. He's going to be a little bit lower on the batting average side, but I will say on the home run side is where he's going to make up for it. If he bats above 270, I'd be surprised. I think he's closer to that 265 mark. But home runs, I'm confident that he's going to be over 25. I would peg him in the 30s, 30 to 33. Especially if that team's rolling again. I mean, they were a surprise team last year. Like I said, you feed off of other guys. Hitting's contagious. So if the team's playing well, you have something to play for, you're going to go up and take every at-bat serious. RBI is going to be 88 to 91. He's going to score a little bit more runs. He's going to be 95 to 100. And he's got a little bit of speed to him. He'll get you 10-plus stolen bases. Probably not up to 20, but he'll get you a few. The number 2 second baseman also is a third baseman. So he's listed. So here's when I was looking up second baseman, he came up. Now I remember him playing more third, but if you can swipe him as a second baseman and you have a good third baseman or use this guy as utility, I definitely would grab him. It's Jose Ramirez. Cleveland Indians, if you don't know, he's 298 to 301 hitter, low 20s in home runs, 80 to 85 RBIs, 90 to 93 runs scored, and he'll get you a few stolen bases. A little bit more likely that he'll get you a stolen base than Daniel Murphy, but I still think that he's not going to be a burner for you. And then number 1, honestly, this guy is, in my opinion, top 2, top 3 at the worst best players in the league, and it's Jose Altuve. Kid is just rakes. I mean, he rakes. He's going to bat, 320. I have the range 318 to 325. I saw some projections on Fangraphs up to like 340, which wouldn't really surprise me, but that would be a breakout year. 20 low 20s in the home run category, 21 to 24, 25. Similar with the RBIs, he's going to be not going to get a ton, but he'll get 85-ish. He'll score over 100 runs. He's always on base. He's got a great lineup hitting behind him. And he'll get you 25 to 30 bags stolen every year. So that's a guy that not only is he great at the plate, he'll score some runs for you. He'll get some stolen bases. He's good in the field. I mean, if it wasn't for Mike Trout, this dude would probably be my number 1 player in the league right now. And it's just Mike Trout's going to be the number 1 player for a long time. The kid's a stud. So Altuve is definitely my number 1 choice for second base. On the shortstops, so first thing I'm going to say about shortstops, I played shortstop, so I'm a little biased, but I was talking about this maybe 2 or 3 days ago. I was watching a spring training game. I don't know why I call it preseason. I was watching a spring training game. Shortstops now, we might be seeing the best generation of shortstops. I mean, since Jeter, A-Rod, Nomar, those guys, this shortstop generation is unbelievable. I mean, 4 out of my top 5 have only been in the league. I think this is their 3rd year. Some of them haven't even played 3 or 2 complete years. So it's stacked. And I can easily say that the shortstops, there could be like 3 of the ones that I left off. Bregman, who plays 3rd, easily could be on there if you had to pick him up as a shortstop. Xander Bogaerts, everyone knows he had a little bit of a down year last year, but everyone knows his potential. And then, of course, if Manny Machado plays shortstop and you can pick him up as a shortstop, he probably would be on this list. But I didn't put him on there. You'll hear about him next week when I talk about third base. Jeez, I got something in my throat, man. So he'll definitely be someone we talk about in the future. But start with number 5. This is somebody that a lot of people wouldn't put on their list. I felt almost obligated to, just because of the season he had in 2016, the season he had last year. I think he's overlooked a lot, actually. And it's Didi Gregorius for the Yankees. Now, he had great years the last 2 years, but let's think about the lineup that he's hitting in now. Like, it was a great lineup last year. Then he just added the NL MVP and MLB home run leader to that lineup. Every pitcher is going to be worried about them. Didi's going to sit in that lineup and just raking. No, he's not going to be a 50 home run guy. But I still think 280, 283, he'll get you 24, 28 to 28 home runs, low 80s in the RBIs, 70 plus runs scored. I mean, he's going to be productive. He's not going to be like an MVP candidate or anything crazy. He's going to be productive. Number 4. This kid, if you listened last year, he was my guy. One of my guys. I talked about Cody Bellinger, and I also talked about this kid as 2 of the brightest stars that I am super, super hyped to watch. Trey Turner, shortstop for the Nationals. Dude, this kid, I'm a huge fan of Trey Turner. Not my favorite shortstop, but I'm a huge fan. And I'm going to stay on the bandwagon. And I think he's going to be 290 to 300 hitter, probably in the mid 290s. Not a ton of power, but he'll get you 15 or so bombs. 60-something RBIs, a little bit lower because I'm assuming he'll probably be the leadoff guy. 80 to 90 runs scored, which is huge. Here's where he's going to make his money. 50 stolen bags. I think he's going to put up a 50 spot. There's not many people that do it in the league anymore. I think he's going to be flirting with 50 stolen bags this year. Getting in scoring position. Harper's going to have an insane year. Harper's going to have an insane year with RBIs with this dude running the bases. So he's number 4 for me. Super young kid, super good talent. I mean, they're all young, so I can't say that he's like the youngest. But number 3, Cody Seager. So I wasn't a huge fan of him probably until the divisional series last year. So I watched a few Dodger games, not a ton because they're on so late. Got to watching him in the playoffs and really was super impressed. Like, he could be the best shortstop in the league. I don't have him there, but he could be. Like, 1 through 3 on this list, you could interchange him, honestly. I have him number 3. I think he's going to flirt with the 300 average. I think he's going to be a little below that. 294 to 299 is probably a good range. 21, 22 home runs. RBIs. Very, very unlikely that he touches like in anything in the 90s. But if he got into the 80s, I wouldn't be surprised. I got him pegged in the high 70s. Runs, high 80s for runs. I also think that he's going to have a great year beyond stat-wise. Like, he could be a Gold Glover. Like, defensively, the kid is there. So I think his all-around game is going to flourish in the next, maybe not this year. He's 3 right now. Maybe next year or the year after, he could quite well be number 1. But I think he's a steal if you can get him. Number 2, he's my favorite. He's my favorite shortstop right now. I mean, I have Xander on the Red Sox, but this kid is my favorite. I love the way he plays, the passion on offense and with the glove. And that's Francisco Lindor from the Indians. He's not going to be a 300 guy. I'm happy if he's at the 290 mark. Little bit of pop in the bat. I think he's going to be 24, 25 home runs. If he gets up to 28, I think that's a really good year for him. 88 to 92 RBIs, and then runs 95 to 100. I mean, he's going to get hit in. I mean, he's going to be on base for Jose Ramirez, for Edwin, for some of these guys. So, I mean, he's gonna get in scoring position, and he's gonna score a lot of runs. 15 or so stolen bases, nothing crazy. But number 1, and it's one half of the best middle infield in baseball, Carlos Correa. I mean, Jose Altuve is the best second baseman. Carlos Correa is the best shortstop. These two are just insane. They're insane. They're so young. If they stay together, they're going to do seriously unbelievable things. Unbelievable. They won a World Series last year. One of the favorites to win it again this year. Obviously, the Yankees made a huge push with their offseason. Houston's going to be right there again with, all their young talent. So Correa's number 1. 300, 303 average, 20 plus home runs. 25 is probably my max for him, home run wise. 100 RBIs. I have the range. What do I have it at? 98 to 102. Runs 86 to 90. And then stolen bases, again, he's not a burner, but he'll get you a few bags. But dude, these guys, this is such a great time for baseball. Think about these, just the shortstops. Correa, early 20s. Lindor, early 20s. Seager, early 20s. Turner, early 20s. Gregorius, what's he, 27, 28? He's like a grandpa to these guys. And he's 28. more so. I mean, it's an exciting time for baseball. All these young guys that are, I mean, we could be looking at 30 years down the road. You could be sitting with your kids and be talking about Correa, Lindor, Seager, Turner. All of them could have won an MVP or multiple Gold Gloves. Hall of Famers, potentially. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But that wraps it up. Next week, we'll go to third base, the hot corner. We'll talk about all that. Now let's go into what to watch for. So we got 4 things. Number 9, UNC at number 5, Duke. Huge ACC game. To wrap it up, I believe the winner gets the 2 seed in the ACC tournament. Virginia's the 1. I believe the winner gets the 2. Not 100% on that, but I believe that's how it works. The Big Ten tournament is going on as we speak. That's going to wrap up this weekend, so check that out. The West Coast Conference also is going on. If you want to watch some good basketball and the West Coast Conference is on, I'm sure you're probably going to catch a Gonzaga or St. Mary's game if you're up late. Check them out. They're the real deal. Gonzaga's a little bit better than St. Mary's. I would see the Zags probably an Elite 8 run is possible. I don't know how much better they are than that. St. Mary's is always a good school, Sweet 16. I don't think they're going to get bounced before that, but it depends on the matchups they get. Of course, if you don't know, well, now you know. The NFL Combine's going on this week. Not necessarily saying watch that. If you're into it, go ahead and watch it. I know I will be tuning into especially the quarterbacks and stuff like that. Sam Darnold's not going to throw at the Combine. He's going to wait for the pro day. But you get a good look at some of the top talent that's going to be at the draft before their pro days. And then also what to look for, not necessarily what to watch, but what to look out for as the Combine's going on or after. Check out all the new mock drafts because there's going to be thousands coming out. I mean, everyone's going to be doing a mock draft. So keep your eye on that. Maybe I'll have to get into the mock draft game, put together a mock draft, go over it on a special edition. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Anyway, guys, it's always a pleasure. I hope you have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. Until next time, guys, take care.